Hello, and welcome to Business Profile on Lifestyles. I'm Charlene Sloan, and today we are here with Buta Biberaj from the Biberaj, Snow and Sinclair law firm, and she's going to talk a little bit about DUIs. Good morning, Buta.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So DUI is not an exciting, peaceful topic. It's a little scary. What do you have to tell us about it?
It is very scary because honestly it crosses over every socioeconomic class, and it can happen to anyone, including anyone here or anyone watching. And what we want to do for our firm is really just to promote the fact that you need to be mindful when you're out, you're having a good time. Monitor what you're doing. Monitor what you're drinking, and the fact that any amount of alcohol can actually decrease your ability to be able to respond accordingly. If you are unfortunate enough to get stopped for DUI, then there's certain advice that we would like for you to keep in mind as well. One is that you do not have to answer the questions of the officers when they ask you, because what it does is really our practice has established itself to show us that we don't have clients who talk themselves out of trouble. We have clients who talk themselves into trouble because of how they answer certain questions.
Sure.
Part of that is if the officer is asking, have you had anything to drink, you can choose to respectfully not answer. I mean, you don't get combative, we don't get crazy like we see sometimes on TV, but we just respectfully don't answer. That doesn't give them additional information to then move forward and be able to do an arrest or be able to take you out of the car. Officers also then may ask if they smell a note of alcohol or they detect in your persona that there's something that might be affecting your driving safely. They can ask you to get out of the car and perform what's called field sobriety tests. Again, those are options. You don't have to do them. If you do them, the officer is really looking to see what are you not doing correctly rather than what are you doing correctly, because there's certain cues for each of the tests that they monitor. And then obviously there's what's called a preliminary breath test, a PBT, and that's an on the field at site breath test. It's not calibrated like the ones that at the police station are, but it does give some indication to the officers as to whether or not there is any alcohol in the system. What some people think is that the preliminary breath test is used to establish whether or not you are under the influence above what the legal limit nowadays is 0.08. It isn't. It's indicated for the officer to see if there's any positive alcohol reading. If there is, that is probable cause, a legal basis for them to arrest you for DUI.
Wow. Well, this is really interesting. I always assumed that if you were stopped, at a sobriety checkpoint, that you were under the obligation to follow all of law enforcement's instructions no matter what. So, if you say you had one drink and you're stopped and you don't want to comply with the questions, what is your next step?
As I indicated before, you can just respectfully decline. You have to give them your driver's license. You have to give them the identification. If they tell you to pull over, you pull over. As I said, we're not encouraging anybody to do anything that would invite any sort of hostility on either side. But if they ask you, have you been drinking, you can respectfully say, I choose not to answer any questions. Will you step out of the car so you could do some field sobriety tests? I respectfully decline to do any tests. Then at that point, it puts the onus on the officer to see whether or not they have enough information or basis to be able to arrest you for what they're suspecting is a DUI, versus you doing some of those things and probably giving them the additional evidence that they would need to be able to substantiate their allegation.
Right, and drinking, obviously alcohol is a more clear, violation. We all know when we're doing it. Most of the time we're aware. But what are some other ways? I know that you were talking earlier about drugs and prescription drugs that you might not even be aware that you're impaired.
Right, and this is why you really have to look at the directions and the warnings on your prescription drugs. Most of them, if they are opiates or other things that can actually affect your motor system, they'll say, do not operate heavy machinery, do not drive. Be mindful of that.
Right.
Honestly, because we may not feel the difference that it causes on us, but it can delay our responses. And a lot of times with these driving accidents or things that occur, it's not even the driver who is at fault, the one that's being charged, but may have changed how they responded to the others' driving behaviors that may have prevented an accident or an injury.
Sure.
And that's what we feel is really one of the biggest goals that we have, is trying to educate people, be mindful. The worst thing in the world is for you to get up one morning and be told you were in a car accident, you were under the influence, you killed or hurt somebody, or you yourself have been drastically injured. Nobody wants to live with that guilt.
Right.
So if you're mindful on the front side of it, you protect yourself. Now we have Uber, which is a great convenience. Just pick up the phone, call them, and they'll get you a ride home. They're cabs. or find some alternative means of transporting yourself rather than getting behind the wheel.
And when should someone contact you? I mean, say they have been stopped and they did go through the breathalyzer and they weren't aware of their options, and now they're into some legal trouble. Can they contact you and reach out to you and obtain your services via the phone or email?
Yes, we're obviously available by phone. Our number is 703-779-2000. Our website is www.loudenlawyers.com. And we're we're also accessible on the internet by just looking up either the names Biberaj, Snow, and Sinclair or the Loudon Lawyers.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in and educating us today. It was very helpful.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you for watching us on Business Profile on Lifestyles.